All right, you heard it there first at 4. Several Republican members of Congress ambushed while practicing in Alexandria, Virginia. New video into the WDSU newsroom of that attack.
House Majority Whip Steve Scalise listed in critical condition this afternoon after being shot in the hip. President Donald Trump saying the Scalise family has his full support. Good afternoon to you. I'm Sean Kreisman.
And I'm Gina Swanson. We are learning more about the shooter who the president says has died. Officials say 66-year-old James Hodgkinson from Illinois showed up at that baseball practice with a rifle and opened fire. We have all the angles covered to this developing situation out of our nation's capital.
All right, but first we want to go straight to reporter Travers Mackle. He has traveled to D.C. this morning where we're getting the latest on the condition of Representative Scalise. Travers.
Hey there, Sean. As you just mentioned, Representative Steve Scalise remains in critical condition inside this hospital behind me in Northwest Washington, MedStar Washington Hospital. The shooting went down at about 7 a.m. Scalise was transported here. He underwent surgery after being shot once in the hip. It's our understanding he is out of surgery, but listed in critical condition. Now, according to Scalise's colleagues, this is being framed as a cowardly act. It's our understanding that Scalise did talk to several colleagues and even his wife prior to going into that surgery. In all, the FBI says 5 people were shot in Alexandria, Virginia at that ball field where a softball practice was underway for the congressional softball game that gets underway tomorrow.
We're just sitting ducks. We're all out there playing baseball, and he just started shooting at whoever he saw.
It's been a long road back for our Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise. The 51-year-old House Majority Whip was shot and nearly killed on June 14th while practicing for the annual congressional baseball game in Alexandria, Virginia. The investigation revealed the gunman was targeting Republicans and had been plotting the shooting for some time. Good evening, I'm Casey Ferran. Thanks for staying up late with us. Last week, 3.5 months after being shot, Scalise returned to the Capitol Hill more than ready to get back to work. Scott Walker talked to Scalise about the challenges he's facing getting back to this point.
All of a sudden you hear a noise, and initially I looked over where the noise was coming from, and I saw a tractor sitting there in kind of right past the third baseline, and I thought it was maybe the backfire of a tractor. And then all of a sudden you heard another shot, and then you knew what was going on, and not long after that I was hit.
In the next moment, he was down on the baseball field with a major injury to his hip, the severity of which wasn't clear early on.
By the time I got on the helicopter, I was starting to feel fatigue set in. It had been a few minutes, it had been a little while, and I was getting prepared to go to the hospital, but it's taken a little longer than I would have liked for the helicopter to take off, and I could just feel myself fading.
Scalise was unconscious for the next 3 days and dropped 50 pounds while in the hospital. When he was finally able to speak to his doctor, he realized just how bad his injury was.
He said, especially that first day, there were a few times where I could have gone the other way, and that's when I really realized how close I was.
But visitors immediately poured in. His local priest from St. Catherine of Siena in Metairie, fellow Congressman Cedric Richmond, House Speaker Paul Ryan, President Trump and First Lady Melania. Prayers and support were constant and got Scalise and his family through those early days.
I'm a man of faith. I have a strong belief in God, but you never see that directly, just how powerful prayer is when you have friends that are praying for you, you have the president that's praying for you, you have world leaders that are praying for you, and then you have complete strangers that are praying for you. It touched us in ways that I don't think we really comprehended how important and powerful that was, but it gave me incredible strength.
Scalise also drew strength from his security detail, David Bailey and Crystal Griner, who saved his life and those of countless others, and were shot themselves during the gun battle.
They've always been almost like part of our family because they go to all the same events that I go to, and whether it's going to a work meeting at the Capitol or here in Metairie, or going to a Thanksgiving dinner with family. They're always part of what we do, and so we really appreciate them being around and understand their job. But you never think it's going to have to come to something like this where they have to directly engage.
Once it was clear Scalise would survive and his health continued to improve, intense rehab began. a frustrating process as he learns to walk again.
You know, I'm a fighter by nature. This sure puts you to the test.
But in dramatic fashion, Scalise surprised his colleagues and returned to the House floor last Thursday. A standing ovation and hugs and more ovations as Scalise, with the help of crutches, made his way to the microphone, grateful for another chance to stand in front of his colleagues and America.
It just was an unbelievable experience. You know, you're looking at everybody standing up and they're smiling, and I'm looking at faces I hadn't seen in months, and it was an incredibly special moment, one of the more memorable moments of my life.
And it's that life he treasures. Not many people stare death in the face, and Scalise says his brush with it has reaffirmed his faith.
I got to see how powerful that prayer is, and, you know, frankly, that God performs real miracles. You know, there were a lot of things that happened on that ball field that day that in a normal situation might have never happened, and the outcome could have been a lot different. But I really do think God placed a lot of things there to allow me and others to still be alive today.
Scott Walker, WDSU News.
And Scalise says he'll continue rehab a few times a week in Washington, D.C. as he works toward a full recovery while keeping a full schedule as possible. And of those 50 pounds Scalise lost in the hospital, he's happy to report he's regained about 40 of them. Now, the man who took aim at Scalise and others that day, 66-year-old James Hodgkinson, was killed in the gun battle with Capitol Police.
At 4:29 right now, we are following breaking news as one of the 4 Confederate monuments in New Orleans set for removal is coming down. This is your first look at that removal process, which is happening right now. Crews have been working in the middle of the night to take down the Liberty Place monument, which is kind of located in an obscure location near the riverfront by the aquarium. We have live coverage of these tense moments. Our Kelly Brown is standing by with a vigil for statues. But first, let's go to WDSU's Travers Mackle, who is at the Battle of Liberty Place monument with what's happening right now. Hey there, Travers.
Hey there, Randy. Everything got underway just after 1 a.m. About 24 police officers in tactical gear got out here. Still a heavy police presence. Let's take a live look. About 24 officers out here. Most of the streets in this area, not far from Harris Casino and the Weston Canal Place, blocked. And then right over here, take a live look. That is the monument coming down right now. Contractors, I should point out, wearing masks and body armor are taking these monuments down right now. Check out this video from about 90 minutes ago. That is when everything got underway. They brought large trucks in. They started from the top down, taking it down piece by piece. It's been going on, as I said, for about 90 minutes to 2 hours.
It is 6 p.m. on a Friday in New Orleans, 9 hours in now to this removal process of the Robert E. Lee statue in Lee Circle. There was a crane there that had some difficulty actually getting up to the statue earlier this morning. A cherry picker that is there right now trying to work to get this statue down from its pedestal.
And the city was expecting to have this done by 5 o'clock. Now, an hour later, still waiting for the monument to be removed. But we're seeing it lifted up right now. There you see the monument coming down.
Casey, thank you so much for that. We have a very good view of the statue now hoisted out of the pedestal, lifted up, and you can see it's dangling there from the crane through the straps that have been fastened around the upper body of the statue.
28 people injured tonight. 21 of those are in the hospital. Police say a man rammed through a crowd of people as they watched the Endymion parade in Mid-City. It all happened near Carrollton and Orleans Avenue. Police say the driver drove his truck into 2 vehicles and then crashed into the neutral ground, finally coming to a stop when he hit a dump truck. We have live team coverage tonight. We begin with WDSU's Jennifer Crockett, who has the latest in Mid-City. Jennifer.
Well, Gina, EMS was actually stationed right here, so the response was immediate. Also, bystanders, family members, complete strangers ran to help the people who were in the path of that out-of-control truck.
We transported 21 patients to 10 local hospitals, including 5 to the trauma center. Those brought to the trauma center were in guarded condition with no serious life threats at this time.
Witnesses say the crowd couldn't get out of the way of the truck in time. The youngest victim, a preschooler.
Approximately 3 or 4 years old. There's a small child. It's very stable, doing fine. To probably in their 30s and 40s.
The man behind the wheel in police custody. Chief Michael Harris then explains what his investigators know so far.
At this time, it appears that it's a subject who was highly intoxicated, who struck a number of vehicles and then veered off, hitting a whole bunch of innocent people, who is now under investigation for DWI and, of course, hitting all the people who are injured.
How an out-of-control truck could get that close to the parade route is another question for the mayor, when he says could change traffic flow near the Mardi Gras masses.
Well, we're gonna examine that. We're looking at all of the facts.
An NOPD officer who was working the Endymion parade was one of the people who was hurt. We saw her being loaded up on a brace aboard into an EMS ambulance and being taken away. Chief Harrison told me that he's spoken to her and she is in good spirits. He also promised to build a solid case here, hand it over to prosecutors who will prosecute that accused drunk driver to the fullest extent of the law.
That's a tornado on the ground confirmed right now.
That's this area right in here. I've kind of put it in red. Let's put the shear in there so that you can see what's happening. And I'm going to come out just a little bit wider. So it looks like there's a bit of a hook that is showing up just to the east of Lutcher. I want to go back to our live radar and just investigate this. We're going to take all out other storm tracks and look at it. So there is a look at the storm. It's not showing up. It's pretty incredible, quite as intense as some of our others, but basically it's this area in here, and it is confirmed as a tornado on the ground.
Hey, Margaret, we are in the 4700 block of Bundy, and the damage is bad and it's serious. Take a look at this. You can see roof completely knocked off right here, trees down. We're gonna walk a little bit further down. We're on the neutral ground and you can see it right here. I'm with photographer Mark Chapman walking around out here. Another home right over here. Roof completely ripped off here. Not a sight that anybody wants to see. Entergy just told us they do have some exposed gas lines out here, but you can just see the scope and the magnitude of the damage. Trees knocked down, roofs knocked off. We don't know if this was a stranding structure house or not right here, but whatever it was completely knocked down, and there are still things flying around here. A piece of metal or foil from one of these houses, it's our understanding. You could just look around. If we walk around a little bit more right here, you can see windows knocked out of homes like this right here. This house, I believe this is the homeowner right here, has no roof left on top. The car is completely damaged.
So what we're doing is we are looking at the tornadoes that we saw today. And there you can see 1025 in Killian. Homes were destroyed here. There were 2 people who were injured. Look at the hook on this. I mean, this was a major tornado.
All right, let's look at these mayoral numbers one more time right now. And it is becoming a very clear picture in the race for New Orleans mayor with LaToya Cantrell at 59%. We're calling that race. LaToya Cantrell defeating Desiree Charbonnet in the race for New Orleans mayor, becoming the first non-New Orleanian. That's been an issue in this campaign as well. The first non-New Orleanian since Vic Skiro in 1961 to win this office. And looking back to looking back to the Civil War, there have only been 7 people not from New Orleans who have won the mayor's seat.
So Desiree Charbonnet right now on the phone right now conceding to LaToya Cantrell as we speak. So LaToya Cantrell declared the winner in this race. So she is the mayor of mayor-elect of New Orleans, and historic nonetheless as Desiree's on the phone conceding.
Let's go over to Gina Swanson, who is at the LaToya Cantrell campaign headquarters. A very jubilant scene there, Gina.
We are here, nothing but smiles and high fives, hugs, happiness. A party is shaping up. LaToya Cantrell wins the mayor's race. We are declaring LaToya Cantrell as the mayor-elect, but you know, people here felt confident throughout the day. They told us, you know, the polls had her up by as many as 17 points, in some polls anywhere from 11 to 17 points. They say they left no stone unturned. They left it all out in the field. All the way up until 8 o'clock today, they were still working the phones, trying to get voters out, making sure that LaToya's message got out and making sure that they got their supporters out to the polls. If you just take a look around the room tonight, you can see a broad coalition of people here from different backgrounds, different walks of life. People here say that's what LaToya Cantrell's campaign was about, and that's what pushed her the victory, and that is what made the difference. We talked to her former opponent, Michael Bagneris. We talked to State Senator Karen Carter-Peterson. They both say LaToya Cantrell is a woman of the people. She'll be a mayor for all people, even the people who didn't support her. Another round of applause as folks here certainly claiming victory. So this watch party turning into a victory party.
Thank you so much. Almost 300 years. Almost 300 years, my friends. And New Orleans, we're still making history. Yeah. This victory, make no mistake about it, this victory is not about LaToya Cantrell. This campaign did not start about self. It only started with and has been rooted in the people of the city of New Orleans, which all of us represent here tonight. Each and every one of us.
We're watching a special coverage of Hurricane Nate here on WDSU, and as of late this evening, the curfew that was implemented at 7 p.m. for New Orleans has been lifted, and the hurricane warning has been downgraded to a tropical storm warning.
And you could look at this as a situation of people in southeast Louisiana, for the most part, dodged a bullet. Let's get back over to Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr as she was going in depth on what's happening with Nate right now at this hour and what's gotten us to this point.
We're so lucky in southeast Louisiana, even though we do have water, especially over toward Shell Beach and also Grand Isle along the Mississippi Gulf Coast too. But the truth is, rain has not been an issue thanks to dry air that moved in. Here is a look at the system. We've got a hurricane warning. Grand Isle to the Alabama-Florida border still have that flash flood watch with the potential for 4 to 7 inches of rain. And let me tell you, they've got some heavy rain moving in right along I-10.
10:21 now. We had our first landfall earlier this evening at the tip of Plaquemines Parish, and the Category 1 Hurricane Nate continued on, never made it to Category 3 status or Category 2 status for that matter, as some had speculated it might because of the warm water there, but it stayed away from the water it needed to generate that extra strength and was moving so fast that it never really had time to gain any extra strength. So it went from the tip of Plaquemines Parish, took a little turn to the east as it moved north, and now is about to make landfall near Biloxi, Mississippi. And do we have a distance from Biloxi? Okay, I think it's about 20 miles or so from Biloxi. It was 23 miles, Quaylen said a few minutes ago, and now it's probably about 16, 17 miles away from making landfall. You can see right there, it's basically at the coastline, the center of the storm, as those storms continue to push in from the east. So Travers Mackle is probably seeing some pretty significant wind because there's a nice band of storms that's about to whip right through where you are, Travers.
I think it's already starting to whip through right now, Scott. You can see I'm kind of standing out in it right here as we're on the main drag in Bay St. Louis. For about the last hour or so, the wind has really started to pick up. The rain is whipping right now. It's definitely the effects of Hurricane Nate coming ashore right now. We keep showing you a lot of this stuff. You can see it in the lights, the wind and the rain, just how fierce it is right now. This is why most people in Hancock County were told to head to higher ground because of winds like this. And wind like this can always lead to power outages. This is why the governor here in Mississippi, Phil Bryant, declared a state of emergency and told people to get out of low-lying areas, one of which is where we are right now. We are outside of a very sturdy structure, Danby's, which is a restaurant and bar, just opened up last week. But we talked to the police chief about an hour ago. He told us that they have had no calls for service, which is a very good thing, that he believes anybody who needed to get out, elderly, anybody for a medical reason, got out, and that people here we know are battle tested when it comes to tropical storms and hurricanes. going through Hurricane Katrina as well as other storms. They know how serious this can be. So what emergency leaders and the governor said to head to higher ground. Most people living right here along the Gulf of Mexico did exactly that. And let's just step out and show you this. This would normally be a packed 10:30 evening on this strip of restaurants and bars. Big weekend down here. It was Cruising the Coast. That's a big event for South Mississippi, but it was canceled tonight. All of these bars and restaurants shut down, obviously due to Hurricane Nate. This entire area, all of Hancock County, 9 o'clock curfew if you live south in this area. That curfew's still in place. Police have been out patrolling this area, Scott and Sulla, making sure that people do stay off the roadways, and it's really a ghost town. It looks like people have definitely heeded that advice. Scott, Sulla.
All right, Travers, thank you so much. And as the night progressed, we've seen a lot of, curfews that were lifted, canceled, and hurricane warnings that were downgraded. So we have an update now. They say this is the final update for Hurricane Nate from St. John, the Baptist Parish. The storm surge warning no longer in effect there.
Right.
Tropical storm warning will expire at 3 a.m. Curfew has been canceled in St. John also. 2 people arrested and 2 more on the run in the brutal beating and robbery of 2 visitors from Boston. Good afternoon, I'm Stella Kim.
And I'm Sean Kreisman. New Orleans police releasing new details on the people they've arrested. We'll show you this is DeJuan Paul and Joshua Simmons, both behind bars today, but 2 other suspects still on the loose at this hour. WDSU's Travers Mackle live now with those details. Travers.
Hey there, Sean. Police are very confident that it won't be long until all 4 suspects are caught and locked up, facing charges in connection with this brutal beating that was caught on tape and happened right here just outside the French Quarter. Now, check this out. These are the men that police are looking for. One is identified as 18-year-old Nicholas Polgowski, the other 20-year-old Rashad Piper. Police say those 2 men, along with 21-year-old DeJuan Paul and 18-year-old Joshua Simmons, are accused of working together to attack and then rob these 2 tourists from Boston. The victims were in town for a faith-based conference and were both employed by the Unitarian Universalist Association. In court today, Simmons and Paul made their initial court appearances. Both are being held without bond until another bond hearing can be held on Friday. The DA's office told the judge that the charges could soon be upgraded from second-degree battery to first-degree murder, as one of the victims is, quote, close to death. The police chief talked about the health of one of the victims as well.
What was told to us, he had an acute brain injury, but he has somewhat improved and is now off of the ventilator and breathing on his own, but still not able to fully engage the way we would need. So his condition, we believe, has improved, but is still critical.
3 of the 4 suspects either arrested or wanted were living at Covenant House, which is just outside the French Quarter. That includes the 2 in custody, Paul and Simmons. Simmons actually surrendered to authorities at Covenant House last night. In a written statement, Covenant House Director Jim Kelly says Covenant House cares for runaway and homeless youth, many of whom are troubled and suffer from mental illness. We are deeply saddened by the incident and are praying for the victims and their families. Police also said it will be up to a lawyer to determine the mental competency and well-being of the 2 suspects in custody. They say that order will have to be given by lawyers inside a courtroom. We'll have much more of the developments in this story coming up at 5 and again at 6. For now, we're live just outside the French Quarter. I'm Travers Mackle, WDSU News.
With the 11th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the New Orleans select Marshawn Lattimore, defensive back, Ohio State.
The 2017 NFL Draft kicked off tonight in Philadelphia. The Saints entered with 2 picks. 1 player has been selected. The next pick has not been made just yet. Also a big night for LSU with 2 of its top players now NFL bound. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Walker.
And I'm Stella Kim. The Saints have 5 overall picks in the top 3 rounds of the draft, which wraps up on Saturday. So let's go ahead and take a live look. This is a live look from the Philadelphia Museum of Art tonight, and that's where the first round of the draft is taking taking place. We have team coverage tonight. Sports anchor Sharif Ishak live in Philly with one of the biggest players hailing from the Crescent City. Reporter Tammy Eswick will show us how family and friends are celebrating that player's success.
But first, here's sports anchor Fletcher Mackel joining us with more on who is the newest member of the Black and Gold. Fletch?
That's right, Scott. The New Orleans Saints have selected Ohio State cornerback Marshawn Lattimore with the 11th overall pick in the NFL draft as they aim to shore up a defense that ranked last in the NFL last season. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Nissan Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage on WDSU. I'm Fletcher Mackel. We are live in downtown Minneapolis, where in just over 30 minutes, the New Orleans Saints will kick off the highly anticipated 2017 season against the Minnesota Vikings. As always, I'm joined alongside sports anchor Sharif Ishak and former Saints head coach Jim Murrow.
Hey, what could be better than this? Here it is, the opening game of the season, Monday Night Football, the beautiful city of Minneapolis, playing against a good Viking team. Hey, this is what it's all about. Let's get going.
All right, let's get going. Let's get to the biggest storyline of this game, and that's, of course, Adrian Peterson, the future Hall of Famer. Spent a decade here. He returns tonight to Minnesota wearing black and gold.
It is a community of the faithful that's older than the city and the country itself.
Even before New Orleans was founded, there were missionaries here establishing the church.
A city inextricably linked to its Catholic identity.
Under French rule, you had to be Catholic in order to be here.
A heritage and culture or faith that still thrives today.
It is our identity. When we become part of the fabric of America.
So how is it that a town with such deep religious roots has such a seedy reputation that goes well beyond revelry to downright raunchiness at times? It is a striking contrast and a duality that has existed for 3 centuries. It's one of the things that makes the city so unique, and we explore the relationship between religion and revelry as New Orleans makes 300. Good evening, I'm Gina Swanson. Missionaries and priests, prisoners and prostitutes, smugglers and vagabonds. Sounds like unlikely neighbors, but it also sounds like the beginning of one of America's greatest cities. You see, from the beginning, we've been a story of contrast, and tonight we explore how religion, revelry, even the risque played a role in the formation of the city almost 300 years ago. You see, this was a strategic venture, a risky proposition, all to give France a foothold in the New World.
The Mississippi River dominates much more than just the landscape, capturing the imagination of poets and pilgrims, artists and adventurers, those who came here seeking freedom and those whose freedom was stolen away. 3 centuries ago, New Orleans rose from a bend in the river, a trading post and port, crossroads of color, creed, and culture. And just like the river itself, what began as a tiny trickle has flourished, nourished by the bounty of the Mississippi. One river made up of many, one story made up of so many more.
And I think the river's always had that character, that it brings some people fortune, has brought people fortune throughout hundreds of years, but it's also, devastated the lives of many people.
The social, economic welfare of the city is because of the labor of my people on the Mississippi River.
We're here because of the river. If there's one constant in our 300-year history, is the Mississippi River.
It's life. It's life. It's the lifeline of the city, really.
No matter how many times you cross the Mississippi River, it remains breathtaking. Native Americans called it the Father of Waters, the Great River. 2,300 miles long, it points miles wide. It drains nearly 40% of the United States of America, critical to trade and commerce. For us here in the city of New Orleans, it's basically been the backdrop to every triumph and tragedy in our 300-year saga. Very quietly, the blood flowing in our arteries, keeping us vital. At once peaceful and powerful, fact, fiction, poetry, and prose. the Mississippi River, ebb and flow.
First at 4, it's carnival time in the Crescent City, and the party is happening right now. This is the 24th annual Lundi Gras Festival along the riverfront.
Absolutely. Folks out here having a great time. The courts of Rex and Zulu will meet tonight, and people are beginning to pack the Uptown Parade route. Plus, we have a crew stationed on a Coast Guard cutter on the Mississippi River.
And a live look outside here on Bourbon Street. Of course, a lot of festivities been going on there all weekend. They continue today for Lundi Gras. We're on the Royal Sonesta balcony there. We've got so much going on. Good afternoon to you. I'm Sean Kreisman.
And I'm Gina Swanson. I can't help but to dance out here. The music is so good. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of WDSU News at 4 o'clock. We are live from the riverfront awaiting Carnival royalty. And who else is joining us?
Royalty herself.
Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr is here with us to experience this Carnival tradition. Margaret, this is
so much fun.
I know.
So we've got Michael Soulman Baptiste on the stage.
He's good.
Oh man, he's good. We can't sit still. And I want you to look. Do you see? Partly cloudy skies, upper 70s, and we're getting down. The wind out of the south at about 15 to 26 miles per hour. I've got the president of Zulu off stage along with the witch doctor, and Gina, Sean, he's taking care of the weather.
He's done a good job.
All right, so far so good out here.
See the King, Rex the King, as he's coming now.
Celebrating over 65 years of live carnival coverage. Welcome to Mardi Gras 2017 on WDSU.
And welcome back. Scott Walker along with Adriana Hopkins outside of Gallier Hall, and we are rolling. There's Zulu on your left, the King, Adonis Expose.
And Zulu on your right, the Uptown route. According to the WDSU Parade Tracker app, Zulu is at St. Charles and St. Andrew. We have crews everywhere. We have Jennifer Crockett there on the Uptown route along with Aubrey Killian as well. So we've got you covered as we await Zulu's arrival here to the Gallier Hall.
Yeah, we invite you to tell your friends about the live stream on our app and on WDSU.com. And make this a wasted work day. Enjoy yourself. Have some coffee, have some king cake, get some barbecue, and enjoy it. Kenya Rounds with Zulu is here to talk us through the parade and to lead us up to the parade as well, which is getting ever closer as we speak. Thanks for being with us on the air and online at WDSU.com and our mobile app, watching around the country and around the world. This has been a great day so far. The sun is out. We're watching Zulu roll by right now. After a 45-minute delay or so, it certainly picked up the pace, Adriana. We're on float 41 now.
Yeah.
The Merrymakers zipping by.
Yeah, 41 is trucking. They are moving.
Thanks for coming by. See you later.
Oh, but I tell you, that break kind of crushed the atmosphere a little bit, so trying to pick things back up. Let's see what Aubrey Killian is doing there in Lee Circle. Looks like he's had a good crowd most of the time he's been there. Hey, Aubrey.
Hey, Adriana. Yeah, that's right. So Zulu just wrapped up where we are at Lee Circle, but you can see even more fun is coming along the route in between. Rex is coming up next. There is all sorts of people coming in and out of Lee Circle right now. We've actually got somebody coming to speak with us real quick. So you are, tell us which group you're with.
We're at the Lions Club.
And a little bit of history. I've been seeing each one so far has been around for a while. How long have you all been around?
About 80 years.
80 years.
80 years.
Tell us, what makes marching on Mardi Gras Day so special every year?
Everywhere else is just Tuesday.
Everywhere else is just Tuesday. Perfectly said. Talk about real quick some of the people in y'all's group.
Well, you can see everything that's going on, what they're doing and everything. But it's a magical group of guys. It changes every year. But it's they're all about celebrating what it is to be in New Orleans.
And how does this work? Do you have to audition, or do you just kind of show up and pick a spot?
You show up and do your thing. It's all about the love. It's all about the love.
All about the love. All right, well, have a great day. And like you just said, everywhere else in the world, it is just Tuesday, but not here in New Orleans, Louisiana. There's thousands of people from all across the world in town having a good time. We just met a little boy over there named Brooks. This was actually his first Mardi Gras ever. So he's really excited, and he's not the only one. There's all sorts of people in town, and so next up behind us, hopefully we will see them coming through Rex any minute, hopefully we will see that first float coming through. But again, out here in Lee Circle, everybody's having a good time, and we'll keep you posted on what it's like out here. Back to you.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WDSU News at 4.
Right now at 4 o'clock, we are tracking rain across southeast Louisiana on your Wednesday. Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr will have your full forecast coming up. But right now, we are following breaking news. A portion of Chef Mentor Highway shut down due to a bad crash. Good afternoon to you. I'm Sean Kreisman.
And I'm Sela Kim. State police on the scene of that crash near Lonely Oak. We want to get straight to reporter Jennifer Crockett live on the scene with more details. Jennifer.
There are at least a dozen state police units responding now, but so far neither state police or NOPD are confirming just what happened. Take a look. As you can see, this is a serious crash spanning at least 2 blocks, and police have screens up, which usually happens when there is a fatality. There are 2 crash scenes that have Chef Mentor shut down from about Wilson Avenue to Plum Orchard Avenue. It's shut down in both directions. It looks like one crash involves a box truck on Chef Mentor. A little further down, a white sedan crashed through a fence and into St. Jude Travel Park. That's where Chris Elliott is staying. He describes what he saw as police began their investigation.
Rolled up, the police presence was increasing and increasing pretty rapidly by the time we got here, and it's quite obvious that there is a car just completely crashed into what is right around the office area of the house that houses the RV park.
Multiple witnesses describe a pursuit involving the crashed white sedan and the state trooper. You can see both of those vehicles are still on the scene. The public information officer for state police has just arrived. We expect to speak with her shortly, and we'll bring you any details we're able to find out as soon as it happens. Reporting in New Orleans East, Jennifer Crockett, WDSU News.
Jennifer, thank you. And as we told you moments ago, we are tracking rain right here in southeast Louisiana. We are also tracking the potential for storms.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a live look now at the commute on this Wednesday. This is I-10 at Louisa. Traffic moving pretty well on the high rise this afternoon. And Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr is in the Weather Center with a check of our conditions outside.
Well, you know, not too bad in the city, just cloudy skies. But you know what? We've got a whole lot of rain along the coast, and we're watching a little area of low pressure. Here is a look at what's happening. You can see that rain along the coast and a low that looks like it's just offshore from Galveston. In fact, we can go to our live radar, and there you're seeing the low level spin. And what it's doing is pumping a whole lot of moisture our way. So here is a look at what's happening. Here's the rain that's moving to the North Galliano. You've got it, some heavier rain over here by Marsh Island. Gosh, they've been pounded lately. We can look at this in 3D. The heaviest rain right now is over towards Picayune. But on the South Shore, rain over Galliano, it's moving into Lafitte. Metro, we're looking pretty good for the commute. That's great news. On the North Shore, seeing some rain moving to the north, every now and then a little bit of a spin. And then over here towards Picayune, now heading towards Poplarville. That's where we've got the heaviest rain. Meanwhile, today, Mississippi Gulf Coast, you look okay. Some rain moving your way. But earlier today, right at about 11:30, we had a water spout moving on shore and really just a small tree knocked down at Waveland. That same squall line that was moving to the north, another water spout, that was by Biloxi. Traffic signal knocked down. And this is the water spout that was captured. Keith Wilson, great photographer, caught that. Another perspective of it. So be aware your rain chances are going up tonight. More potential for water spouts. I'll have more on that in just a moment.
Margaret, thank you. We are also following this big local story. All 4 suspects in the brutal French Quarter beating and robbery of 2 tourists are now behind bars. Police rounded up the final 2 suspects in the last 24 hours.
Reporter Travers Mackel has more on the key thing police say was the breakthrough in this case. Travers.
Well, bottom line, Sulla, it was surveillance video. Police say without that video, that key piece of evidence, these 4 suspects may still be at large because, as we know, the victims were attacked from behind. Now, check out this graphic. This has all of the suspects now in custody on it. Last night, Rashad Piper was picked up in the 800 block of Conti. An 18-year-old Nicholas Pogaleski was arrested near the Walmart on Tchoupitoulas. All are being held until a hearing on Friday. 3 of the 4 were living at nearby Covenant House. Now, the video surfaced after the attack in which 2 tourists from Boston were knocked down, beaten, and then robbed. Both were here for a faith-based conference. The chief said video was the key piece of evidence in this case and talked about how the new security plan for the French Quarter features more security cameras.
This is the value of video, and this is what's coming to the entire city. We're going to have video in 20 different hotspots around the city, license plate readers, and we'll have a number of tools in our toolbox to help us identify people and solve crimes just like we did with this one.
I think video is absolutely crucial. It's one of the most important things that we can have in order to protect ourselves and our neighbors, because the camera systems are able to see down the street or certain angles that other cameras aren't.
All 4 suspects are charged with second-degree robbery. That's a felony punishable by up to 40 years in jail if convicted. The DA wants these suspects held without bond. They have another bond hearing coming up on Friday. For now, we're live in the French Quarter. I'm Travers Mackel, WDSU News.
Travers, thank you. And all new tonight, New Orleans police releasing new information on a deadly shooting in the Gerttown neighborhood. That shooting happened 14 days ago. Reporter Tammy Eswick joins us live with the latest. Tammy.
Yeah, 2 guys are facing charges in connection with this case. Take a look at your screen. We've got pictures of both of them. You're looking at Jonathan Stone and Kenneth Murdoch. Now, police say they got a call about someone breaking into a house in the 78 block of Olive Street. They say sometime later they got another call about shots being fired in the same area. When they say they got to the scene, they found a woman dead, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds.
Jonathan Stone and Kenneth Murdoch were arrested just this morning for the homicide that occurred 2 weeks ago. We are still actively investigating the shooting that occurred on that very same morning.
As you heard right there, NOPD says this case is not over. They're investigating the possible connection between the shooting of that woman and a shooting that happened earlier that day in Gerttown. Tammy Eswick, WDSU News.
Tammy, thank you. The Orleans Parish Coroner released the identity of a 16-year-old who was gunned down in Gentilly last night. He is identified as Kamani Williams, and police say just after 5 o'clock last night they found the teen shot in the chest. It happened on Paris Avenue and Lafreniere Street. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. And in Jefferson Parish, sheriff's officials say a man is in critical condition after being shot. Investigators say a man called headquarters this morning saying he had a gunshot wound. Deputies responded to the 4200 block of Tetton Street in Murrow to find a man in the street. He had been shot in the stomach. No information on a possible suspect has been released yet. Residents in Abita Springs will soon see major improvements in the town's aging and problematic sewerage system. They will also see their water bills go up starting in August to repay the 20-year loan they got to do that work. And as North Shore reporter Heath Allen shows us, most folks are willing to foot the bill for the work to finally fix a nasty problem.
Come August 1st, residents here in Abita Springs are going to see their water bills go up and go up substantially. It's all to fund about $6 million worth in repairs to an antiquated sewerage system that's been in the ground here in Abita since the 1920s.
The main lines running in the streets here, they're way down below, and they're terracotta, and they're broken. So we've got raw sewage coming out of that sewage coming out when there is a storm. There's a number of manholes that it comes bubbling right out, and that's raw sewage in the ditches.
And while a lot of people aren't necessarily happy about seeing their water bills go up, they do understand the need, and most are glad to see it coming finally.
We do have a sewage problem. I've been here 20 years. I'm not opposed to paying more money if that's what's going to correct the problem. I guess it just depends on how much money they're talking about.
The $6 million loan comes through the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, a federal and state cooperative effort for projects like the one in Abita Springs. The 20-year loan will cost Abita and its residents about $28,300 a month. And that's why the water bills will go up in August. In Abita Springs, Heath Allen, WDSU News.
Well, President Trump says Republicans could deliver a big surprise on health care. This comes one day after the health care bill being pushed by Republican leaders suffered a major setback in the Senate. Sally Kidd, she is live in Washington with the latest on this. Sally.
Well, Sean, the president says the delayed vote in the Senate gives Republicans more time to make the bill perfect, but analysts say the political reality is much tougher. A bold promise from the president.
Healthcare is working along very well. We could have a big surprise with a great healthcare package.
A more pragmatic assessment from the man in charge of salvaging it.
We'll continue working so we can bring legislation to the floor for debate and ultimately a vote.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wants to get a deal by Friday, one that will satisfy reluctant conservatives.
I want to see more premium reduction because that makes health care affordable to everybody.
While at the same time winning over moderates concerned about cuts to Medicaid.
Republicans from states that expanded Medicaid, and they do not want that money to be taken away, at least not that quickly, and they don't want those coverage gaps.
I expect to see buyouts and bailouts, backroom deals and kickbacks to individual senators to try and buy their vote.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's time to start over, calling on President Trump to sit down with all senators to find common ground.
I think Democrats abandoned the ability when they said that they were unwilling to come to the table and have frankly refused to be part of the conversation from the beginning.
Well, the president says Senator Schumer's call for bipartisan negotiations doesn't seem to be a serious offer. Live in Washington, Sally Kidd, WDSU News.
All right, Sally, thank you very much. Now, the Congressional Budget Office estimates some 22 million people could lose coverage by 2026 if the current Senate bill becomes law. The House passed its version in May.
Fighting the opioid crisis with some big upgrades, what the city of Houston is giving its police officers to combat the powerful drug. And then coming up all new at 5, it is the hottest ticket in town, the 2017 Essence Music Festival, and the celebrities and tourists pouring into the city. How you can see a big headliner for free.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WDSU News at 4 with Sean Kreisman, Gina Swanson, and Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr.
And now to Houston, that's where the police chief is upgrading masks, gloves, and evidence bags for his officers after highly potent opioids have been found in illegal street drugs. The chief is also urging emergency medical responders to strengthen their protections. And this comes after a presumed batch of methamphetamine in the city has been confirmed as a highly potent opioid. Doctors say a lethal dose of the drug found is extremely small, and that's unlikely that someone would even see it.
Leave these opioids alone. Stay away from them, and stay away from people who are using them.
The only legitimate use for the drug found is as an elephant tranquilizer.
More than 68,000 chests of drawers sold online are being recalled by South Shore Industries because they pose serious tip-over and entrapment hazards to young children.
And this recall involves Summer Breeze-style 5-drawer chests of drawers sold in 4 colors. You see them here. Each drawer has 2 round knobs. The chests were sold at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, Wayfair.com, and other online retailers from February 2005 through last December. If the chests are not anchored to the wall, a tip-over could injure and or entrap a child and result in death or injuries. No incidents, though, have been reported. Consumers can contact South Shore for a full refund or for a free tip-over restraint kit. South Shore is also offering a free one-time in-home installation of the kit.
Ford is recalling more than 400,000 transit vans and buses. The automaker says the recall covers North American vans, buses, and chassis cabs with medium, long, and extended wheelbases from 2015 to 2017. Cracked drive shaft couplings can cause the vehicles to lose power or even unintended movement while in park. Ford says it is not aware of any crashes or injuries related to the problem.
And now to sports. The LSU Tigers are coming home from Omaha without the World Series title after a heartbreaking loss against the Florida Gators. Florida topped LSU 6-1. Paul Maneri's team still finished with an overall solid season, 52-20. And a live look outside on your hump day. Plenty of rain around on your Wednesday afternoon, but not in this shot here.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Margaret Orr is here with a forecast for us. Looks a little cloudy there, Margaret.
Well, it is cloudy, but the truth is not a whole lot of rain right now. I am expecting those rain chances to go up, though. So as you look out the window, you're seeing cloudy skies, temperatures upper 70s to the low 80s. All right, let's look at the big picture. And so what we're seeing is a frontal boundary that's basically draped across the area, lower pressure in the Gulf, and that's helping to pump moisture to the north. Man, you walk outside, you can feel that humidity right now. Then we can look at the tropics, and the truth is not seeing any tropical development in the Atlantic basin now for 5 days. That's great news. We can go into the Pacific there, the remnants of Dora, and now a 20% chance for tropical development off the coast of Mexico. So for us, here's what you can expect. Our rain chances are going up tonight and into tomorrow. The potential for 1 to 3 inches of rain. Not a constant rain, but we will have periods of rain off and on. And then this weekend, the sun's going to come out and you're going to need your sunscreen, hat, and shades. Truth is, check the back seat with this kind of heat. We're going to have high temperatures near 90 to the low 90s and stay hydrated. This is going to be a change for us, but I think for Essence Festival, you're going to love that weather over what we've had recently. So you can look at what's happening now, and obviously a lot of rain offshore, generally moving to the east-northeast. We can zoom in and we're seeing showers, and that's really all it is. Over here towards Galliano, extending down towards Port Sulphur, over St. Bernard, scattered activity. Into the metro, not much, looks pretty good. North Shore, you've got a few showers. They're over by Mandeville, extending up towards Folsom. And then near Poplarville, you've got a pretty good shower over there right now. Mississippi Gulf Coast, of course, we had those 2 water spouts earlier today. But check out this forecast model. Now, not initializing perfectly, meaning it's not picking up on exactly what's there, but it is indicating all of that moisture moving to the north with our rain chances going up tonight. So for tonight, I've got a 50% chance, but for tomorrow, 70% chance. Could be a messy morning commute, so keep that in mind. Here is a look at the bigger picture with somewhat of lower pressure moving to the north. Rain chances go up for Thursday, but for Friday, I've dropped them down to 40%, and for your Saturday, I've only got a 20% chance of rain. And you know, this time of the year, when you don't have much rain, that means your temperatures are going up. How much rain are we talking about? Well, the potential for 1 to even 3 inches of rain. But for the weekend, slight rain chance, heating up. Grand Isle at about 89, Gulfport 92, Pensacola 90, with a 20 to 30% chance of rain. Now, if you're going to the beach, watch your kids. These kind of muddier looking areas, those are rip currents. Don't want them playing anywhere near those rip currents. This is what it looked like in Port Fourchon this morning. Dan Leon sent that in. The clouds were moving our way. And then on the North Shore, Cam Dotrieve over there in Folsom said, hey, it was really nice. Can you believe it? Only 5 90-degree days for this June. You know what? On Friday, we've got a shot at hitting 90 degrees. So here is a look. Tomorrow is just looking like rain off and on. We'll hit the mid-80s. Friday, I think it's going to be hot, 90. And then on Saturday, low 90s. Your rain chance is going down. And then look, all the way into the week, I think we're getting into the low 90s for the 4th of July. It's going to be hot, slight chance of rain. But you need your umbrella for tomorrow, don't you? So congratulations to Wanda Hill of Covington, the winner of the WDSU Knows the Weather umbrella. And this is brought to you by Legacy Buick.
Well, congratulations there. Meanwhile, a housing stipend for members of Congress, how much one lawmaker is asking for. And a global cyber attack affecting big corporations across the world. Details on where investigators say it started. And coming up in primetime tonight, right here on WDSU. At 7, it's Little Big Shots. Then at 8, it's The Carmichael Show. And at 9, This Is Us. And then join us for WDSU News at 10, followed by The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. All right, we are following breaking news out of New Orleans East. We are getting new details on the crash we told you about. And the state police are saying a 2-year-old child was among 3 people killed in this crash. It has shut down part of Chef Mentor Highway. Police say that child was in the car when the driver took off from police as they tried to stop the driver for a stolen license plate. The vehicle lost control and hit a fence. That toddler was ejected.
as was another passenger. We will have another update at 4:30 for you.
Now to stories trending right now online. As he prepares to leave office, Congressman Jason Chaffetz is calling on his fellow lawmakers to receive a housing stipend.
The Utah Republican tells The Hill that a $2,500 monthly stipend would be appropriate, given that Washington, D.C. is an expensive place to live. Chaffetz says dozens of lawmakers generally live out of their Capitol Hill offices, including himself. Chaffetz has one child starting law school and another in college. A Kiplinger report ranks the nation's capital as the 6th most expensive American city to live in.
A massive cyber attack apparently targeting Ukraine has been wreaking havoc on countries and corporations across the globe, including right here in the U.S. Now, this appeared to stem in part from an obscure or an unknown Ukrainian tax software product, but then it rapidly spread across Ukraine, Russia, Europe, the U.S., and even Australia. Investigators say that it has been largely affecting big companies more than individual users. New screening procedures at America's airports. Details on the new measures that could affect your next flight.
Plus, the answer to those injection fears, details on a flu vaccine patch. You're watching WDSU News at 4. This is New Orleans' original 4 o'clock newscast.